What's up, everybody? Welcome to Deep in the Plus. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside, and tonight we are going to be talking about a very cool movie, and I brought with me a very cool guy to talk to me about it. It's Ben. Ben, we miss you, buddy. What's going on?
Hey, not too much. Happy to be back. Glad to be talking about this. It's something that we've wanted to do for a while now, and I'm glad we're finally getting to it.
Yeah, so the movie is, and I want to give the reason why I asked you on this one too, but the movie is The Sorcerer's Apprentice with Jay Baruchel and Nicolas Cage. And when we first were working together on this, I was like, hey, you've got to do this movie with me because you're a huge Hiccup fan. Huge fan of How to Train Your Dragon, and so Jay does the voice of Hiccup, and so I was like, oh, for some reason this feels like, and it's very sciencey. I feel like this is you, and then we were like, great, let's do it, and then we're like, oh, it's not on Disney Plus yet.
Yep, I forgot about that part, but yeah, that's why this got put off for so long because we were waiting on them to put it out. And,
we were queued
it's there
up.
now.
Yeah, we were queued up and ready to go and talk about this movie, and then it was like, oh, wah wah, it's not on. Let's just talk about Doogie Howser. So this movie, to me, this movie came out in 2010, and to me is a lost gem in the Disney archives because to me it is such a good movie that no one has seen. When you saw this movie, did you see it in the theater, or tell me your backstory with this movie?
So I think the first time I saw this was on cable. I think I was homesick.
Wow.
Which goes to speak to the box office caliber of this movie. Like that you're getting that as the daytime movie for filler. But I liked it. Like it was so much better than I thought it was going to be. Now it still has problems, and we're going to get into that. But it's so much better than just the garbage fire that this movie seemed to be on release.
Well, yeah, and so this one, I mean, this cover image with Nicolas Cage doesn't do it much favors because I feel like that's like 900% of all Nick Cage movies look like that. Like, so I mean, that's not really the selling point to it. But again, like, so it's based off of way loosely, The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia, right?
Yeah, that combined with a bit of Arthurian mythology, and you get this, which is it's such a weird thing to me. Like, I guess it makes sense that you put Sorcerer's Apprentice and Merlin together, but I don't know where I would have gone, but that's not where I would have gone first.
And I think when you bring up Sorcerer's Apprentice, everybody usually thinks this scene right here. So this it's Mickey. He's hanging out with the brooms. And then, but doesn't think about this, which is, so he's wearing, he's wearing the red, which is cool. So, I mean, there's like that tie in there. And then when the boys get together, it made magic. So this was, again, I love anything that like builds on existing Disney lore. So that's what drug me into this in the first place. But when I was watching, I was like, this is a really good movie. It's going to do well. And then it didn't. So... and we'll talk about that. So the basic premise is that Dave, and that's Jay's character, Dave, is this little kid in New York in the year 2000, and he seems to have it kind of together. He's a cool little kid, a little bit off the beaten path. And he is got a little crush on this girl Becky. They're on a field trip together. He passes her a note, and do you like me, yes or no, kind of a situation, or it says friend or girlfriend, to be clear. And then she leaves the note. He ends up chasing it, and it drags him to a little magic shop. And then when he gets into the magic shop, he meets Balthazar, which we've already learned about him in the opening. So they give this pre-setting of the Merlin era. And maybe I should start there because I assume you have some things to say about the way they set up Merlin.
Yeah, let's cold open the movie on 3-4 solid minutes of exposition on Arthurian legend and how we're changing it to fit our story. And then we're also going to cover all of this over the course of the plot. Like, we're going to have every character explain this to some other character the moment it becomes relevant to the story. But we're going to dump it all on you up front so you get it twice. Why are we here?
Do you think the reason for that though is that maybe, and this is just me reading into it, that they did some kind of like test audience thing, and people are like, I still don't quite get it. Do you think that's what happened?
100%. Yeah, this reads like audiences said they couldn't follow what was going on, so they're like, how can we fix it? Do some voiceover and put some pictures up at the start of the movie. That'll do it.
Can I tell you that honestly, I almost wish that they had done the movie of like how all of these guys came together, and that the Sorcerer's Apprentice was the sequel to it. I mean, because that would have been kind of cool to be able to see that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to see them come out with the Apprentice's Master and just have that be like the follow on prequel. That's like the entire thing of how we got here. Because like Disney's all about doing those villain prequels now. Let's do it here. Like let's go for it.
Well, I mean, there've been a ton of movies done about Arthur and Merlin, and yet I feel like there's still never enough, because I'm not sure that anybody's told the story perfectly. There's like the kid who would be king, and you've got the I don't know, a kid in King Arthur's court. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. But so when we're opening in this exposition, as you mentioned, Morgana is coming in to face off against Merlin, and this is that epic battle right here, which is not so epic. And then we find out that Harvath, who is one of these three like apprentices of Merlin, has decided to become a servant of Morgana. He betrays Merlin, and then the other two kind of pair together to contain her. And in containing her, Veronica, who is the third of the apprentices, brings Morgana into her, and she I don't know.
They merge souls, like it's kind of a soul absorption kind of thing, and then she puts herself away as well.
Yeah, and then Balthazar puts her in a Russian nesting doll, which they call the Grimhold. Is there canon on that being called that? Is that a thing?
I'm not sure. I didn't look anything up like that. Did you find anything like that?
No, that's why I'm just literally off the top of my head just asking that question, because it seems very purposeful that they go back and they talk about Merlin and Morgana, and they that stuff exists, and then this Grimhold is like the only thing that could hold her. And then over time, Balthazar has been given the task by Merlin to find the Prime Meridian.
Not the Prime Meridian. I keep calling it that.
I wanted to hear. That's what I wanted to hear too. And I was like, the Prime Millennium. The Prime Millennium? Is that what he's saying? So it's the Prime Merlinian. And so he's going.
No, they were trying to say the Prime Millennial the entire time. The Prime Millennial, because it had to happen in 2000. So there you go. That's exactly.
We did it. We did it. So Morgana was trying to start this thing called the Rising, where she was going to bring back all of these sorcerers from the dead to be her army, and so that's what they're containing. And this Prime Merlinian, is the one that that Merlin has said, you have to find this guy or this person. Here's a ring. Take it around like the Cinderella shoe and see who it fits. And once you find that, that's the person who's going to bring down Morgana. And so that's what Balthazar does through decades and years and like 1,000 years. He goes through looking for this person. And that's David, who finds his way to the magic shop via the note. He goes in. He tries on the ring. The ring, it's like the wand chooses the wizard, I guess, at this point. The ring chooses the wizard. He's the guy. Yeah. And it's like, here's where the movie takes off. And Balthazar's found his guy. He's going to train him. He's going to beat Morgana. It's all great. And then the Grimhold comes out of the wall. He accidentally releases Horvath from the Grimwald. Why would you keep all of your... You don't put all your eggs in one basket. Why would you put all of your villains in one Grimhold?
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense that you've got, this one object that can handle and trap these things, and so you're going to kind of keep using and reusing that one thing, because, if you've got Ghostbusters, if you've got a ghost trap, that can hold multiple ghosts, why wouldn't you just put them all there? Because it's such a pain to make another one.
Such a pain. It's the worst.
And that doesn't ever lead to any problems in any other movies ever. Nope, not a one.
So is there any, and again, don't look this up because I don't know, but the Arcana Cabana is the name of the shop, the magic shop, and it's like a den of antiquities, like Doc Ondar, that he goes into, and that's where he finds Balthazar. Arcana Cabana, they bring it up a bunch. Does that mean anything? I don't think. Is it just fun to say?
I think it's just really fun to say, and all the actors are like, "Oh, that's a really good name. I'm improving that into every line." Like it's.
Yeah, remember the Arcana Cabana? The Arcana Cabana. Everybody loves the Arcana Cabana. Anyway, so when Alfred Molina plays Horvath and is awesome in it, and when he is released, there is a big like wizard battle. Between Nick Cage, Balthazar, and Alfred Molina, and they fight, and then they get brung into this vase, which we've already gotten through exposition, the fact that this is a 10-year curse that they've just fallen into. So they get pulled into this urn or this vase. They're trapped in there for 10 years, and then David runs out of the store, and his entire field trip is there. Why would they be there? He ran so far
How
away.
did they find him like that? Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. They find him. He's crying. He's feeling crazy. Like he doesn't know what's going on because they won't believe him and all this magic stuff that he just saw. And he just happened to have dumped some yellow liquid on his pants during this fight.
Yep.
And then they all think that he's peed himself. And so yeah, it's not good.
Why?
For David. It's not good for David.
We didn't need this. We did not need that entire plot point. It does not impact the character development. It does not drive Dave to be this social outcast or anything like that. Like, he could have very easily been just the socially awkward character that he was, just naturally. Like, you don't need to give him this excuse of like, oh, this one time in school, this very scarring incident, and then all of everybody made fun of him. It doesn't come up again. Like, we don't talk about, oh, that time you peed your pants. Like, it never comes up again. All it is just get to feel miserable for this character and think, oh my gosh, children are assholes.
You're not wrong. As a matter of fact, it's one of those things, kind of like in Hocus Pocus, the whole virgin candle thing. Like, it doesn't matter. It could have been just someone lights the candle. It didn't have to be specific to that. The same thing here. It's like already the fact that no one believes him about the magic could have been the thing that puts him into being sort of a social outcast. Because again, little David, 9-year-old David, kind of has his act together. He seems like a good kid. He seems like he's kind of cool. And, then this whole thing happens to him, and it did, the pee your pants thing did not have to happen. But it did. And so that's something that's stuck in there. And you're right. Like, it makes me feel kind of like, meh. Like, I don't know why they put that in there. So then they flash forward 10 years, and we see him wake up, and we know that it's still him because the first time we saw him wake up, he woke up to an alarm clock, which was a Buzz Lightyear alarm clock. Again, some product placement for Disney. And then I was like, wait, Buzz Lightyear came out in 1995. Okay, that tracks. Yeah, all right. So it's okay. So then he's waking up now 10 years later to a crummy alarm clock. He's still got his dog with him. And he's in an apartment. We find out it's his birthday, and his friend gives him cookies. And then gives him the speech about he needs to get out there and, participate in life, which again, foreshadowing to him being, in this situation. And then he's going through a sock drawer, and for a brief second, there's a close-up of the ring. Again, I mean, why did we need that?
Because he still has it?
I guess that makes sense. So then his friend gives him the speech about a wolf, and he shows him this calendar, and it's again too much foreshadowing there.
The wolf metaphor just makes no sense.
Right. I think it's just an excuse.
This character shows up twice. Yeah, like this is just a setup for something, for a one-off gag later. This character really just does not need to be in this movie. You're
talking about Bennett, his friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would be fine. I'm fine with him being in the movie, but he doesn't like chew anything up or ruin anything. He doesn't make the experience worse like the pee your pants moment did. But there seems to be a decent amount of this movie that doesn't need to be in this movie. And we were talking off air just before we started. This movie is a lot longer than we both thought it was. Like, this is what, an hour 50?
Yeah, it is.
This could have been an hour 30 easy.
Yeah, I swore it was 90 minutes. I really did. and then I was like, I didn't have enough time. But you know what? I feel like other than like the J and being Hiccup and this character, I feel like you have a little bit more in common too with the fact that this guy is really into science and he's, he likes fixing things and figuring things out. And I feel like that's kind of your wheelhouse. Like you're that guy. You're like, oh, you want to do such and such? I can write some code for that. Like,
I felt very kin to him in the scene where the lightning hits the radio tower, and he just goes up there and is like, "Give me a thing, and I'm gonna fix the thing, and I know what this is. This is my day job. Let me go up there and fix this for you, because I know how to do this."
And he's like, "Let me see. That should work," and then everything comes up.
Yeah, there we go.
When I saw the scene specifically, I thought, this is what he loves to do. So he is a grad student of some sort, right? And he is working on this project, he sees this girl and realizes it's the little girl from the day with the note, Becky, and so he talks to her, finds out that she works at the college radio station. He walks over to the station with her, and that's when he goes upstairs with her and finds out that the power's out, and that he's like, "Where does your engineer keep his tools?" So that was kind of cool, and he saves the day, and so now she's like, "Oh, okay, I kind of like this guy. He's pretty cool." Meanwhile, the wizards are coming out of the urn. That, like, they just randomly show the urn sitting in somebody else's house, starts to shake. Horvath comes out first, and he's like, "Am I the first one out?" Woman faints, and he goes, "I'll take that as a yes." That was so good. Like, that Alfred Molina delivered that perfectly. And he's like, takes the thing, and he throws it off the building, and it was a cool scene as it's falling for Balthazar to come out and grab this, the ledge, and he's free, and he didn't die. And now they're both out, and they're both going to be looking for Dave, and they're also going to be both looking for the Grimhold.
Yeah. Now I had a comment on this scene. That what I wrote in my notes is, man, if our villain wasn't so lazy, he'd win by now. Like, he spends all this time like figuring out if he's the first one out of the vase, which, like, I guess that's fair. But then he proceeds to destroy the vase in one of the slowest possible fashions of pushing it out a window of a high-rise building. Why don't you just take your cane and smash it? It's on the ground already. Just break the dang thing and call it a day. But no, we got to do this the dramatic way and give our hero a way to get out of it. It's like, if you would just... You seem so competent and so smart, and yet you do things like this.
Well, you're right. And there's a lot of that stuff in movies that I look at and go, no, don't do that. And, there's like this, like the whole thing about like yelling at the screen, don't go in there. It's one of those things where you're like, he could have solved that up like that. But you're right. He does make it much harder on himself than it really needs to be. Because most of the way through the movie, he clearly looks like the stronger sorcerer over Balthazar, the things that he does and how quickly he moves, and he seems like he's the better guy. Maybe that's like kind of the force, like the good side versus the dark side, and that the dark side has more power because they don't care and they just unleash everything. Is there a parallel there, or am I? No. Okay, good. Just grasping at straws.
It feels like that could be there a little bit, but it does feel a little stretchy.
Okay, cool. So then we find out that Dave loves science, and he's working on this thing with Tesla coils, and he's got this like secret lab that apparently nobody knows about, and he goes into the lab and he tests the coils, and so we get to know that he's very science-y, and he loves being able to control these things. Then he goes back home. We find that I'm going to keep saying his name wrong, but Horvath, right?
Horvath? Yeah.
Yeah, is waiting for him in his apartment because he's got his school paper on the refrigerator, and that's a neat little scene in the fact that he's like, that's the only thing I had to read for 10 years, and then he's like, I find it derivative, like, I mean, he's giving him like a review on his paper. He's like, I'm surprised you got a B- on it, you really didn't deserve that. So a little bit of comedy again from Alfred Molina, which I think was really cool. And it's at this point where he's like, where's the Grimhold? And he's like, he runs away, and then at this point, for some strange reason, this very powerful wizard decides that what he's going to do is he's going to turn the wolves inside the calendar to make them real and chase Dave.
Yeah. Again, if our villain wasn't so lazy, he'd have just won by now.
Could have pointed.
This is instance number 2 of our villain doing something stupid rather than just killing the person they need to kill.
Yeah.
There will be more.
So yeah, I mean, he could have just like picked up his cane and just like zapped him and he'd be gone. But instead, he decided to get creative about it, like a bad Batman villain. And so then he puts him into he brings these wolves into life, and they chase Dave up into the train station, and then he hides there. And that's when Balthazar comes down, swoops down on this eagle that he made happen off the side of a building to rescue Dave. I do like this though. The wolves chase Dave down into this into like the subway track, and while he's in the track, he gets saved by Balthazar. And Balthazar, instead of letting the train that's coming run over the puppies, he turns the wolves back into pages in a calendar. Why did he know they were pages in a calendar before?
I thought he turned them into puppies.
He turns them into puppies
like the wolves were about to punch. Yeah.
But at the very last second, he turns them into pages of a calendar so they don't get killed.
Oh, and then throws it at the train so that the train driver can't see. Yeah. I assume that's just a feature of the magic system here, that if something is transformed into a state that's not its natural state, that you can know what that is.
Yeah,
like they don't do a good job of explaining the magic system here, because it really is very much people do things that we want them to do because it makes sense and looks cool. Well, and they don't really try and go up past that. So
here's a look at, like, after he turns them back into pages of paper. So he turned them into puppies because they were wolves, and then he turned them into wolf puppies, and then he turned them. You can see the calendar pages, they're laying there. So he turned them back into calendar pages, and yet they're not the original calendar pages, because now they're, and boy, are we picking this one apart.
We sure are.
But now it's a calendar page of the puppy, the wolf pup, and not the actual wolf. So I don't know if the magic says it goes back to its original state. That should have been a picture of wolves.
That's not it. Yeah.
Just saying. But what I did appreciate that is that we didn't have to worry about the wolf puppies getting run over, because it was bad enough if there were wolves getting run over by a train, but wolf puppies? No, you don't want to do that.
That's so sad. No,
I know.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. So this is where Nicolas Cage's character Balthazar takes Dave to the top of the building and explains everything to him. Now here's the thing again, and I've seen this happen before, and I can't remember which movie, where Dave's apparently been in therapy for years to forget this magic moment he saw when he was 9. Now it's all coming back, and he's not fighting it as much as I feel like he should be.
Yeah.
He kind of takes it all for granted really quickly, and which again makes it seem like, why did you go to the trouble to explain all this to us? Why isn't he just curious and like, what happened to you? Where have you been? I never got over that day. Why does it have to be about the therapy? You know what I'm saying?
The therapy is just such a quick throwaway line too. Like, you didn't need to say that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of you didn't need to do this coming out of my mouth for this movie, apparently. But like you didn't need to mention therapy. You just needed to mention it being a struggle and that you were trying to get it out of your mind and things like that. You didn't. If you've been going to therapy for 10 years for something like that, and like you're probably going to get some more progress in resisting it than just, oh, okay, I guess it's all back then. This is weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. And, there was a thing on the Big Bang Theory where they were talking about how Indiana Jones didn't need to be in that movie, The Raiders of the Lost Ark, like he affected nothing. And they get into these arguments about that. So, I mean, I guess you can tear any movie apart at that level. But there are enough things in here where you're like, why? Why did you need that? And maybe, I don't know if it was sloppy writing, because I feel like maybe today, and this is only 11 years ago, I feel like today we're maybe a more harsh audience, and so we expect more from our stories. But this was not 1970. This was 2010. So they should have had their ducks in a row by then? I don't know.
I mean, there have been good movies throughout history. Sure. You can have good writing in the 50s. You can, this is not a new invention. You can have a well-constructed film at any point in time in the history of film.
You're right, except for the fact that I feel like the 70s and 80s, they got a little lazy, but maybe...
Okay, fair.
Maybe in general, I don't know.
I think that was just because they realized that they could put almost any movie out in theaters and it would make money.
That makes sense.
And so they stopped trying. And then people started getting cynical on it, and it's like, okay, well, maybe we do need to actually try, or in the case of Marvel, copy-paste, but that's another argument.
Interesting. Okay, so you're a very detail-oriented guy. I noticed some things in here that I've structured as trivia questions for you.
Uh-oh. All right, let's go.
Are you ready? And I don't know. You may go and just 100% this, and so I'm going to start pretty easy on you. So I was talking about the paper that Dave wrote when he was 9 that he got a B- on. What was that paper on?
Oh man, it was someone from the time from that Arthurian time period, and I'm just blanking. Names have never been my good thing. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
No, I'm not going to get that one. No.
Napoleon Bonaparte. It was Napoleon.
Right.
Well, you're not good at names. Maybe you might not get this one. Balthazar's last name.
Oh, no, not happening.
Balthazar Blake. Here's where I find this.
Why?
Right, exactly. Yeah, Blake. And it was when they're in Chinatown and they do the big fight scene, and then they're trying to kind of like do a Men in Black thing with the cops, and he turns into a police officer and he's got his uniform.
Yes.
On. It does also say Blake on his badge, which I thought was a nice little touch. Unnecessary, but a nice little touch. And Hovarth is his last name. I believe his first name is like Maxim or something like that. He calls him that once. There's like, hey, we used to be friends. Okay. I'm not sure you'll know this one either. So Drake Stone.
Go for it.
Drake Stone.
Yeah, Drake
Which again,
Stone.
Blake and Drake. It didn't seem like you needed two of those AKA names in the same one. His master left him when he was how old?
I'm going to say 13?
Close. It was 15.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk about Drake in a second, though, because you've got some thoughts on Drake. I got 3 more questions for you. Okay.
Okay, and then I got one for you.
Oh, you're gonna annihilate me. Absolutely annihilate me. So, what's the dog's name?
Oh no.
So
starts with a B. Is it like Boulder or something?
So Dave has a dog, and that's another way they show the passage of time, because when he's in 2009 or 2000, or in the year 2000, and he's 9 years old, he wakes up and it's kind of he's a puppy. It's like a bulldog, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when he wakes up again later, and the dog is older and bigger and funny, and Balthazar, they bring him into the lab where he's gonna try to practice the soul merge thing with him, and then he changes his mind. His name is Tank.
Right. No. Yeah.
because I was hearing Hank at first.
That's such a good name for a bulldog. Yeah.
Yeah. The dresser where he kept the ring. Balthazar, for some reason, sends a pigeon to get it and drops it onto the top of the building where they are, and then opens up the drawer, the sock drawer, and pulls out Merlin's ring. There's a symbol on that. Do you remember what that symbol is? We see it a couple times.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't even notice the symbol.
Oh, it's not. I mean, it's not This is not the best version of it, but I'll show you here.
Yeah.
Can you see? Probably not. It's an anarchy.
Oh, it's a. I think it's a right side up anarchy.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I saw. You know why I focused on that is because it looked like an Avengers symbol, and I was like, wait, wait, that wouldn't have been the Avengers symbol back then, would it? I don't know.
Well, I'm going to tangent off Avengers then to ask you mine, and that's going to be a bit of a hint to the answer.
Okay.
His girlfriend, Becky.
Yes. Becky with the good
What's
hair.
her last name?
Palmer?
Mm-mm. Becky
Shoot.
Barnes.
Are you serious? Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay,
it is really Becky Barnes.
So
this is clearly an episode of What If here. We've got Becky Barnes over here. We've got Sorcerer Supreme. Like we
Teresa Palmer is the actress's name, I believe, which is why I said that. Yeah, it is. It's Teresa Palmer, who is Australian, who, by the way, not that it's a trivia question, but she was also in another Disney movie that I think is overlooked, which was Bedtime Stories. Yeah, so...
definitely overlooked, because I have not even looked at it before now. I've never heard of it.
You've never heard of Bedtime Stories?
I mean, I've heard of the concept, but not the film.
Oh, so it's a Disney movie with... let's change gears. Let's just talk about Bedtime Stories for the rest of this. No, it's a really...
Welcome to Deeper in the Plus.
Right. If you followed us this far down the rabbit hole, perhaps you'd like to go a little further. Blue pill, red pill. So the Bedtime Stories is a movie with Adam Sandler that he did for Disney, and it has Russell Brand in it, and it has Teresa Palmer in it, and it's kind of a cool movie. So I think you should see it at some point, but maybe that's a later Deep in the Plus. But he's having all these like fantasy situations where it's people who are. The people in his life then show up in these stories that he's telling, and so she shows up in some of these stories that he's telling. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen
that movie. Sounds familiar. I remember the trailer now.
Russell Brand in it is all I needed to be able to want to see it. So, and then for it to have Adam Sandler in it and not be a huge hit is another thing. I don't know. But anyway, it's that's a fun one. So we can talk about that another time. This is your final question. Are you ready?
Okay, let's go for it.
I don't think you're ready, but here it is. She comes to the lab. He has to send her away. We'll talk about why in a second. But when he sends her away, then he feels bad and he goes to a coffee shop to find her. Do you know the name of the coffee shop? I'm betting you don't, but it says it on the window. Communication Cafe. I know. It was so cheesy and corny because
it's a little on the nose for what just didn't happen in that scene.
Because she's a radio person and she works at WNYU, and so Communication Cafe is of course where she would hang out. I don't know. I find this kind of stuff to be very interesting. So sorry for that, corny. But these are all the little details I picked up. I was also going to ask you the license plate on Balthazar's car. Which is 6082D. I don't know what that means, but it's on there. But what I find interesting about that is when he turns his car into a sports car, it still has the same license plate. I thought that was a neat little touch. I don't know why they would do that, but that was a neat little touch. So now he's the apprentice to Balthazar. He's going to learn magic and he's going to train with him. And they decide to train in the subway tunnel, which is kind of cool to do. And so he's training there, and now Hovarth thinks, I'm going to need to get a little bit of help on my own. So he goes to this dude, and he's like, hey, are there any Morganians around here? And he's like, yeah, there's this one guy. And it's like a Chris Angel sort of a situation where he goes and finds this guy named Drake Stone. Tell us about Drake Stone, would you, Ben?
Okay, so I have one thing written down here. This first scene where we hear him, we haven't even seen him yet. We just hear he's talking and describing some idea for a new magic trick, and what I have written down is, quote, "I reach into the hat, but I pull myself out, but I'm a woman." And I'm just like, oh no, no, please, movie. I know that you're 11 years old, but please do not, no. And thankfully, they don't make a big deal out of this or bring it up again, and it's just a throwaway in the background. But it's like, why did you? Okay,
but yeah.
So Drake Stone is this just kind of a prick Chris Angel type.
Yeah, he. Here's a quick pic of Drake.
Please.
And so yeah, he's got the black nail polish, and I mean, it's clearly a Chris Angel kind of a knockoff situation.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Like just the mannerisms and everything. Like it's this character that you are very clearly supposed to hate, and he does a great job of portraying that. This is not somebody that you enjoy seeing on screen.
No.
But what really kills me about that is that apparently everybody in the universe loves him to pieces. He is like the most famous like stage magician in all of anywhere. Everybody loves him. He loves giving people like autographs and time on the street and stuff like that. The thing that kills me is that in the canon of this universe, he is so popular that Wizards of the Coast have created a bunch of representations of him in the Magic the Gathering card game. Like, I am a huge Magic the Gathering nerd. I'm a level 2 judge. I help run tournaments for them all the time. I actually was running one this past weekend as of record. So seeing this come up, they made this whole tie-in with this, and they made cards up for this.
So these are legit cards.
These are somewhat legit cards. So okay. Concentrate here, there's 5 cards. Concentrate is a real Magic card that is that effect, that cost, all that jazz. They just came up with some custom art and some custom flavor text for it. But all the other cards here, they actually invented wholesale for this promo. They didn't print these cards. You can't play with these cards, but they came up with them anyways so that they could appear in the backgrounds of shots. And I'm just completely blown away at the level of effort they went for this. So just briefly to indulge the Magic nerds here, Illusory Thoughts is one of the most busted cards I've ever seen come out of Wizards of the Coast. Look at someone else's hand. For 2 mana, look at opponent's hand, put up to 2 cards on the top of the library, search their library for that many replacements, put them back into their hand, and then shuffle it away. So you get to look at their hand, see everything in there, get rid of their 2 best cards, give them the 2 worst cards out of their deck for 2 mana. This is the nuttiest card. Like, this would get played all the time if this was legal. Holy cow. The rest of this seems kind of fine. 1 mana instant, tap a land, draw a card. Like, okay, sure, that's actually a pretty reasonable card to actually print. Enthrall, 1 and a black sorcery. Target player discards a card for each spell you've cast this turn. Seems like a kind of an interesting Storm payoff. If you can get in a situation where you can cast a bunch of spells like that, but Storm has so many better payoffs. I guess it's a limited focus card. I'm getting revenge on Rob now, by the way, because he doesn't know any of the words that are coming out of my mouth. This is all revenge for those trivia questions.
Yeah, you know what? It's working. It's working.
And then the last one here, this Planeswalker. They got lazy on this. This bothers me because this card, the Planeswalker cards, are supposed to have some of the most unique and interesting effects that like really represent what the character is. But this is just a very basic, like almost like Jace the Mind Sculptor. Well, not Mind Sculptor, but just a Jace looking effects here with draw a card, discard a card. You can put a permanent on the bottom of its owner's library. Like, why is there black in this mana cost? All of these effects are blue effects. You don't need the black mana to do this. So Wizards of the Coast got very lazy on this. I am very annoyed by that fact. Because they went through all this effort to make cards to put in the background, and they bragged about it on their website, and they promoted the movie, and then they just made bad cards for like all of this and one reprint.
So in this scene, you can see the sign.
Yeah, you can see it right there.
Yeah, for the Magic the Gathering, it actually. So there was some sort of a loose tie in there, and yeah, and then all they did was break your heart, Ben. I'm sorry. That's yeah. Yeah, you don't need the black whatever. Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry, I don't. Yeah. And please know that I don't take any pleasure in not knowing like this things, because I like to know things, especially anything that has to do with pop culture. And Magic the Gathering has been ingrained in pop culture for so long. I wish I knew more about that. But it's just, yeah, it's kind of it blows my mind. These are not Magic the Gathering boxes on there. Those green boxes on his table in the back.
On the back left?
I wouldn't think so.
I don't think so. I think that looks more like just a Magic kit or a Magic set, like not like the Magic the Gathering, but just like tricks.
Yeah, tricks are for kids.
It looks close, but the shape just looks a little wrong.
Yeah, no, that's probably accurate. Again, there are a lot of little details in here, like I was talking about, like the license plate, like putting the Buzz Lightyear in there. Before this was even a thought in Bob Iger's mind, they used a Star Wars line. These are not the droids they're looking for.
Yeah.
So I mean, it does.
Oh, well, they also referenced Lord of the Rings earlier, because Dave's talking about, well, why don't we just take the eagle to get over there and stop the bad stuff? And he's like, oh, well, that's too high profile. I'm like, all right, yeah, you're just making an Eagles and Lord of the Rings reference because you can. This feels very ham-fisted, guys. Come on.
Okay, so Hovarth has teamed up with Drake, and they are now going to take on the other two. Meanwhile, the whole Becky storyline, he's becoming closer with Becky, but he's got to keep all this from her, and then he decides that he's not loving doing the magic anymore, that he doesn't feel good about it. It's taken away from his time with Becky. He goes to see her. Then he walks away, but she sees him, and she follows him up to the top of the roof where he's about to throw the ring away, and then they have this conversation about magic, or about each other, I guess. And then what we find is that then they kidnap Becky. And now he's gone back to be with Balthazar. They've decided they're going to go and they're going to take him on. They go find him at Drake's place. In between time, Abigail is in the Grimhold, and she's a witch from Salem days. I feel like that they just threw this character away. Her job, she was brought out of the Grimhold. She then goes to the radio station to help kidnap Becky, and then they bring her back and they decide to just stun her, take her, do this parasite spell, which then lets them take her talisman and add it to the magic that Hovarth already has. So she just seems like a throwaway character. I mean, at least the guy in the Chinatown scene that they bring out has some sort of a large battle with them.
Yeah, I feel like this might have been something that was cut for time, although why? There are so many other things you could be cutting for time here, and you leave that okay. And it feels so weird because this is brought up in the 3.5-minute exposition at the top of the movie very quickly as just and this person was also locked in that doll. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks for sharing. And so it comes up. She does like one thing, has 2 lines, and then gets absorbed by our big bad evil genius. Like it feels like the entire point of her existence is simply to allow our big bad to absorb more power and seem more threatening, and then just proceed to not actually use it for anything productive. I don't know.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. But he gets her talisman, and so it's a necklace. Everybody else has a ring, right? And she has a necklace.
Yeah.
That's weird too.
That's okay, I guess.
By the way, in the Sorcerer's Apprentice, the original one, the hat is what gives him the power. You can see that in Mickey's PhilharMagic. You
Right.
can see, like, they talk about the hat is where the power comes from. In this one, it's a ring. So again, there is a talisman of some sort that is universal between the two. They just go deeper into that Merlin lore to make it a ring instead of it being the hat. But hers is not a ring, which is weird. And I guess neither is the first guy, because his is like a belt, like a metal belt with a dragon on it. I think that's his talisman.
Yeah, and I think the staff is the other talisman, but I guess that might also be it's the ring, and he just uses the staff for kicks. I don't know.
That could be. That could be. So he's got all he's got all these, but he needs one more. So they go to Drake's apartment. Then there's a Persian rug that is like what's the joke there? There's like it's a Persian rug, but it's like a quicksand.
It's like Persian quicksand rug or something.
Yeah, and so Balthazar is sinking in this, which allows Hovarth to confront Dave and go, "Yo, man, I got your girl. I'm gonna kill her unless you give me your ring." And so he takes the ring, and then he takes the Grimhold, which only has one more person in it, which is, this is the climax of it. It's Morgana herself, and Veronica and Morgana fuse together, and he's going to take that to Battery Park because he's left this map out that shows where he's going to go. Why did he
Thanks
do
for
that,
leaving
Ben?
the map out.
Why did he do that, Ben?
Because if our villa wasn't so lazy, he'd have won by now.
Is that 3? It's at least 3.
There's 3, and I know we've skipped at least one other one. I know there was a scene where Dave was alone in the bathroom with him. It was Dave, Drake Stone, and our big bad evil genius, and he just does not decide to just murder him. He tells his protege to kill him, which in hindsight, why are you even doing this? That sounds like a thing that you would do if you were trying to train your protege to be better, but your plan is to kill him later.
Yeah.
Why are you wasting your time?
He's not the best. He's not the best.
No.
Although it does set up the big joke because he gets thrown into the mirror in the bathroom.
Yes, that's a good gag.
Can you wake up the idiot in stall 3? That was something. So yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I do like this effect though with the mirror. Like I do think that's pretty cool.
Yes.
They do that effect a couple times where there's a spell about being able to go into the mirror, and I mean I feel like that was a pretty cool one. I don't know again the mechanics of the magic with the mirror when the car goes into the mirror. Because like when they go into the mirror as with the car, there's nobody else in that world that they're in the mirror world. Shouldn't there be? Everyone else is there, but it's their reverse. I don't.
It's weird. A wizard did it, and it's magic.
Okay, there. The end. That's exactly what happens. So now there's this huge, complicated plot. Now Becky's in on it though, because she was kidnapped and she's seen the magic in real life. There's no trying to convince her and saying, she's like, "Oh, I don't believe you about magic, and you're still that crazy kid that just had therapy and you're nuts," right? Like this is actually a moment where we don't see that, and I kind of appreciate that here, because in a lot of times it's like they're trying to convince you that magic is real or that this something is real. Becky gets to see it. He never has to convince her of anything. There's not this like lie that gets exposed like it happens in so many movies. It just presents itself. Now she wants to be a part of it. He's like, great. They go and find for the second time in the movie his friend, which like you said, like why does this character Bennett need to even be in here? Well, Bennett is having this weird like bearskin rug in front of a fireplace feeding grapes moment with a girl, and comes to help him out by carrying some Tesla coils to him about 10 feet. And then he's like, "Good for you, man. You're getting involved in life." And that was it. That's all we see of Bennett again. And that's a shame. Bennett, I was like, I recognize this guy. He's on a TV show now called The Unicorn that only I watch, because The Unicorn actually, the setting, Rob Corddry's in it. The setting is actually Raleigh, North Carolina, which I find interesting because I don't know any other TV shows that ever had that. It's probably been canceled at this point, but the actor that plays Bennett was in it. Bennett was in it. So he brings him the coils. He's like, oh, you know what? I'm a science guy. I've realized that he's using himself as a conductor because he's using all these magic talismans together. All I need to do is put this Tesla coil on the front of, Balthazar's car, and I'm good. I don't know. I feel like we jumped 18 steps there. I feel like he never really explained why that was going to be a thing.
That actually made sense to me.
Okay.
So like that was kind of explained earlier on. We were vaguely told how the magic works here. Which side note. Oh God, this is another people use 10% of their brain movie. Like, why did we need to mention that fact? But or not even a fact, but the relevant part of how the magic works here is that it has to do with how you can control the vibrations and orientations of other atoms in the universe through quantum effects, and that you need to be able to conduct between you and what you're doing. And so that's why we have to wear weird shoes. Because if you're wearing rubber bottom shoes, it's an insulator and you can't conduct with the ground properly.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's a whole thing.
Describe that when he's teaching him about throwing fire. And yeah, so he has that conversation with him there, has it again about the shoes. You're right. So that we have established that. Yes.
So we do know that he is conductive. That's the whole point of how the magic works, kind of, sort of, maybe sometimes. And that if you pump a bunch of electricity into that, then that might be pretty bad.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It's a bit of a jump, but we kind of set it up, and that one actually tracked for me pretty well.
Okay, that's fair. You won me over. So then Hobarth has decided that the battery park is the best place for this rising spell to happen, and so he, because of the way that the satellites are set up around the city, it's the perfect place to be able to do this incantation, which is going to bring this like circle, and once the circle is complete, the rising can start, and the circle has to stay complete for the rising. And so now we know if you just break the circle, not will the circle be unbroken by and by. I don't know if you know that song. Anyway, so they go in and they're headed down to Battery Park with the Tesla coil on the front of the car. Becky with the good hair is sitting next to him. They get to this point. He looks up and he sees the circle being made. She doesn't see it, which I thought was interesting. And so then he's like, hey, if you can just go up to the roof real quick, just run up to the roof, get out on the scaffolding up there, and then just divert the satellite dish, we should be gold. And so she's like, okay, and she goes up to do that. So
I was very surprised at how willing she was to just go do this thing, just go do a casual breaking and entering and get up on that roof and mess with someone's equipment for reasons that are unseen by somebody that apparently has had mental issues that they've been in therapy for 10 years. You're just going to take this all at face value without really seeing much of any... Well, had she seen the eagle yet? At that point, or does that happen later? Because I think that happens later, but I'm not sure.
No, she's seen the eagle at that point because Balthazar went to Battery Park on the eagle.
Right. So. Right. Yes. Okay. So she has seen. All right. So this makes way more sense then.
Yeah,
all right.
She knows.
But still, she's very like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, if the world's gonna end, like, I may as well help. Like.
Yes, exactly.
Which, to be fair, that was a really good piece of logic there that I don't see enough in movies, where it's like, no, don't go, I don't want you to die. The world's going to end, and I'm going to end with it. I'm going to help. And then we're just like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That checks out. All right, let's go. And everybody just accepts it, and there's no pushback or anything. It's like, yeah, we've got logical characters here, that one's in college, one's a grad student. Like, we're going to make this argument. We're going to go, yeah, that works out, and we're going to keep going with it. Thank you, movie.
Thank you, movie. Yeah, so, I mean, it all works out. Everything's great. But she gets up on the building, and she moves the satellite dish, which at the last minute is what ends the rising, right? So, so that's a happy coincidence that she's able to do that. Then he goes down to Battery Park, which again, because of the map, thank you, we know that's where the baddies are going to be. He gets down there and comes in with the coil, comes around the corner, sees Hovarth, and he just shuts him down with the coil, and that allows him to now take on Morgana with Balthazar, right? So Balthazar is there.
Yeah.
Morgana's been freed, and now she's going to be making the circle. So she's there, and then but he has to separate Veronica, and he does it by bringing Morgana out of Veronica and into himself, and then like he's fighting it off, and then Morgana gets out, and now she's there, and she's kind of playing like Vision, where she's like real, but she's also things can pass through her, kind of. No.
Yeah, we're doing an incorporeal over here. Like, this is. It's a good play. It's a good move to just not take hits like that, but it raises some questions that we'll get to in a hot second here.
Yeah. So then now she's there. We know that he has to be the one to kill her. She throws a spell, and now all of a sudden he musters up his courage, and he does what his destiny has called for him to do, is to muster power and magic without his talisman, his ring. It's a cool moment. It's a very Disney-esque moment when that happens.
Yeah.
But then he starts to have this battle with her that made me think about this.
Indeed.
So he has
that is
battle.
100% what this is.
Hadouken! Like he's just like doing like this, throwing like like thunderbolt. I mean, like it's kind of crazy.
Just over and over and over again. We spend all this time in this movie talking about all these different spells, and he just uses the one. Classic Harry Potter.
Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, I don't really. I mean, where do you find the flaws after that, though? I know you said you found some flaws in the.
So the biggest problem I've got is, okay, so we can't hit Morgana. When we fire shots at Morgana, she just kind of like floats around them. They pass through her. Even if they hit her, they aren't doing much of anything.
Right.
Then we hit her with some Tesla coils, which hurt. And then we proceed to continue shooting Hadoukens, and now they're kind of doing something. Like, she's still kind of ghosting around them, but she's not regenerating back. Like, is the electricity like stabilizing her? I would have appreciated like a throwaway line from one of our nerd characters of just being like, the electricity from the Tesla coils is stabilizing her particles, go for it. And then like, okay. But of all the things this movie like left in, can we put that in? Can we have a little explanation for why this is making sense?
Well, here's the dorkiest moment of the whole movie, though, is that he's doing the whole thing where it's like, he shoots and she's like, you missed, but he's like, did I? And what he's doing is he's activating like electric cables inside of this like little like shed, and the cables kind of start to snake up through and get up into the lamppost and act as that sort of Tesla coil situation. And he's like, I brought my friend science. So in this world of magic, he's gonna kill her with science.
Yeah.
I don't.
It be like that.
No, it don't be like that. That's weird. Like,
I'm okay with, like, we kind of explained that the magic system is science based. So if you want to have science interact with your magic system, that's fine. It felt a little weird, and like I really wish they had invested more time in this movie on that and less time on other nonsense. Because I maybe it's just me, but I would enjoy, and I always do enjoy, like, hearing how like fantasy universes have their magic systems work and things like that. Like Avatar: The Last Airbender has one of the best magic systems out there, and I know that it's not like magic in their universe, like nobody ever calls it that, but that's effectively what it is, and it makes sense. It's consistent. This can do this. This can do this. Here are the exceptions. This works this way, and it's all very logical and reasonable within it. Internally consistent is the word I'm looking for. This is not consistent at all.
Yeah.
And we don't bother to explain the inconsistencies.
Well, I mean, it works. He beats her with science. She goes away forever. But Hovarth disappears. Like, we see his hat on the ground, and he is disappeared. We don't. So I guess that opens up for a sequel if there ever needed to be one. But in the meantime,
Did you see the after credits scene?
Yes. No. I did not see that.
Because there's a hat on a table. Like after credits, we've got Mickey's hat from the Sorcerer's Apprentice under glass, like thinking like the rose from Beauty and the Beast. Camera slowly pans back. We see Horvath's hat on a table, and we see a hand reach in, pick it up, and pull it off. Cut to black. They wanted a sequel. They wanted The Sorcerer's Apprentice 2, The Return of Horvath, and they did not get it.
Well, here's a picture of the hat, and I don't know how I missed it.
Oh, okay, good. So you did get that. All right.
Yeah. So here's a picture of the Sorcerer hat, but I did not, and I'm not going to play the scene because again, YouTube gets mad at me when I do anything.
Yeah, we don't want to get in trouble for that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a nice touch that at least they brought again a little bit more of the of the actual Sorcerer's Apprentice into that. So pretty cool.
Yeah, we touched very lightly on it, but they did like play like the music from the original Sorcerer's Apprentice, and they had the brooms and everything at one point in the film. Like they did the whole 9 yards with this. But yeah, there's his hand with the hat. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they did a full on homage to the original, and it's not bad. I enjoyed, especially with the axe scene where you can see Mickey's shadow when he's cutting the brooms with an axe, but they're just splitting. But he's here we have Dave swinging the axe, and you can see the shadow, but then the camera cuts and he's just trying to cut the ends off of one of them, and it just keeps moving its moppy tendrils around to not get hit. And it's like, oh, that's a neat little twist on it.
It was definitely neat. It was definitely a cool homage to it, and I guess to me that part was like, again, you geek out a little bit because they're really redoing that movie, and then Balthazar shows up and does the like, no, stop, and he puts everything back the way it was, and the water goes away, and it is really pretty much the Sorcerer's Apprentice scene within the movie. Speaking of scenes in movies, this drives me a little crazy because when I look at this, am I looking at the Sorcerer's Apprentice or am I looking at Cruella de Vil? Like, the car...
Or am I looking at Gargoyles, the live-action series?
Or are we looking at Batman? I don't know. But, I mean, there's just
like, this is the alley where Bruce Wayne's parents got shot. Like, this...
I was looking at that, and her, like, the car itself looks a lot like the Cruella de Vil car, but yeah.
It really does.
So we've touched on a lot of stuff here. I just want to make sure to get from you, is there anything that we've missed that you definitely wanted to talk about with this movie before we go into the final thoughts?
There are a couple things that I've made notes on that I want to touch on real quick.
Go for it.
So first off, top of the movie, after the exposition, our opening number to set us very clearly in that early 2000s era, we start hearing The Middle in the background, and this song got chopped up so badly in this intro sequence. Like, I'm sorry, I know you sometimes need to like chop songs around, move pieces around so that it fits the pacing of the scene that you've got, but this really was grinding on me because they also left all the lyrics in. And so the lyrics were jumping between verses. We never got refrains until suddenly we got a refrain halfway through a verse, and it didn't make sense. And I'm just like, I'm trying to watch the movie, but somebody's sitting around playing like a record and like skipping around on it and just distracting me while this movie's going on. So if you watch this, maybe jump that part. You don't need to deal with that. Put it on mute. Read the captions. It's better off.
Speaking of music, they really lean into One Republic. With that
oh boy,
song.
Do they?
We hear that a lot. And
yeah, it's One Republic. No one's ever heard of them before.
Yeah, I mean, we hear that at least twice in the movie, the Secrets song. So, what else you got?
I think it's like 3 or 4 times. Honestly, it keeps coming up. It's like the love theme of the movie.
Tell me what you want from me. Yep.
So there, we talked about it briefly, but the whole Chinatown scene with the dragon fight and everything, I just gotta say it. We have two movies now where Jay Baruchel's character kills a dragon or kills a dragon.
How did I miss that?
It's like the whole thing of like, oh my gosh, I did it! I shot a dragon, and it's like, yeah, okay, you've done this twice now. All right.
Good. Yeah, you're right. I missed out on that one. I would like to mention.
I appreciate that. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
From hold on to that thought. That from a Disney standpoint, that Peyton List, who was in Jessie, is the one who plays young Becky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
you're right.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Sorry. Go ahead.
Right after that, we talked about how they turn into cops for a half a second there, and these people have been hitting the sake too hard, and then Dave chimes in with, sake's Japanese, this is Chinatown. It's like, you... Oh, okay. Two things. One, why are you intentionally ruining somebody's cover? You have enough intelligence to not do that. Two, or B, I've forgotten which. So now we know that you are a weeb, that you are a Japanese culture buff, and you know well enough that it's like, oh no, that's a Japanese thing, and you know it so well that you feel the need to call somebody out for that after having just killed a dragon with a bunch of like magic going on. Like, why do you need to do this right now? Dave, I understand that you're awkward, but please.
Yes, well, it's a thing. I mean, you know what, and along the lines of the magic again, when he slays the dragon, it turns back into like the parade dragon, where these guys are like, what is gonna happen? So maybe that does.
And all the guys were fine, yeah.
Yeah, even though like the whole thing blew up, all the guys were fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. It's all fine.
Yeah. All right, and then the last one that I want to go on. There's one scene right after we meet Drake Stone for the first time, where we go back to the lab and we're doing like a kind of a training montage. Balthazar just decides to pick on Dave and have the Tesla coils shock him for no good reason, because this is funny. Hurting our main character with high voltage electricity is just funny. Good job, movie. I agree. It's one. No, don't, please. Like, why did we need to do that? Balthazar is the character we're supposed to like and relate to, like as our mentor who's a good guy, and Dave's our point of view character. Why are we having the person you're supposed to like torturing our point of view character? Stop this.
I don't know. Maybe he's been getting on his nerves. I don't know. I get what you're saying.
I guess, though. But like we didn't work it up. Like we didn't set that up enough to pay it off. Like if Dave had really been getting on his nerves and we made it clear that like, oops, sorry, then like maybe that would be justified.
You
but
know,
it didn't feel like it to me.
I think you brought I mean, we've kind of brought this up in a roundabout way, but I feel like for such a long movie, they missed a lot of character development opportunities. Whether it's the relationship between the two of them, or Abigail's character, or the relationship between Drake and Horvath. Like there was a lot of it and the Horvath Balthazar relationship too, because apparently they were really good friends. And and then Veronica was what like kind of separated them, is that one of them got to fell was in love with her. They were both in love with her, but one of them won her hand. So I don't know. But yeah, it does seem like for such a long movie, there was some missed opportunity.
And what's terrible to me is that with all the character development that they do have in this movie, it's great when they have it. Mm-hmm. Like I think that a lot of the character interactions and a lot of just the characters that they have, all the like individual moments that are here, all feel good and are all well written. We've been bashing on this movie for what feels like an hour straight, but we started off at the top of the show with like this is an underrated gem, and I really do think it is. Like I feel like when this movie is hitting, it is hitting well. There are so many good little bits here and there. We skipped over the subway mugging scene, which is just a gem that I'm going to leave for whoever wants to watch this movie to enjoy.
Right.
Like there's so many good little character moments here. It's just there are so many gaping holes between those moments that you're playing. You're hopping across a raging river on the back of a bunch of stones to try and get to the other side of the movie.
That's fair. All right, so then, I mean, like you said, you've kind of set this up. You've kind of teed it up for us anyway, but I need to ask the question, Ben, because that's what we do on this show. With all that we've said, with all the plot holes, with all the problems, with all the things that have gone through this whole thing that we've talked about, and you know, everything aside, would you recommend this movie?
I would recommend that you watch this potentially in the background while doing some chores or something like that. But I would recommend watching it. It is great. If you've watched this, you do not need to pay very close attention to the movie. Because we have already gone over the plot in potentially better detail than the movie does. So you will understand what's going on, and you can just appreciate those moments here and there without trying to like focus in too hard on what's going on or how or why or anything like that. And I think that's really the best way to enjoy this is just something that is, oh, that's really cool. Oh, that looks awesome. Like this whole dragon fight looks really sweet. Like all the effects look really fun for like they hold up today. That's the other thing. None of the effects in here look bad. A lot of older movies with special effects in them look like garbage if they aren't done mainly in practical with things like Jurassic Park or Jaws. These hold up fine to me. Like it's not like, oh my god, it's a Marvel movie level of quality, but it doesn't look bad. I can watch this and not be like, ew, this is good to look at. It's well written for what is actually there. I really would like to see what they threw out and have this movie recut. But what's there is pretty good and I think worth a watch.
Well, you know what, and I'm going to say that I would recommend this movie more so than the putting it on the background with the chores part. I honestly, I mean, I get where you're going with that, but even though, like you said, we sort of went into a lot of detail about it here, is that this is one, and I can name like a handful of them. I think Tron Legacy didn't get enough viewers. I think Tomorrowland didn't get enough viewers. I think that Prince of Persia, John Carter, all of the Lone Ranger, like these are movies that I think are worth a second look. Bedtime Stories, like we talked about. And so all of these movies, I think, are good movies that just didn't get enough, like there weren't enough people interested in seeing the movie. Something about the way they rolled it out, the way they introduced it. Maybe people were confused that this was the Mickey Mouse and not, you know, not this live action thing or what it was supposed to be. Yeah, so, I mean, for me, I would recommend this movie. I like the fact that there are actually, and I pan Disney Plus a lot for this, but there are actually some of the extras are on Disney Plus. You can get the making of, which is 23 minutes. You can get a deleted scene, but it's not a deleted scene like Abigail, like we talked about. It's like where Balthazar recruited Dave. So it's a little bit of a different take. It was like an alternate take rather than a deleted scene, I feel like.
Okay.
And so, like, I feel like I would like to see, kind of like you talked about, what else was left on the cutting room floor here, in terms of like what this means to the parks. And there's really nothing. This is referenced nowhere ever. This is referencing the original. And so, you know, go back and watch the original Fantasia clip, and it is the best part of Fantasia, I think. It's always fun to see. They made PhilharMagic off of the whole hat, you know, wizard thing. So, I mean, I feel like that taking a short like that and making it a 2-hour movie was a Herculean effort, but I feel like that there was more potential for it to be even better than it was. But I would recommend that people watch it. So if you're watching this and you're like, I've seen it, and here's what I really think, we would love to get your comments below. But also make sure to give this a thumbs up because we want to make sure other people find all this stuff. Plus, Ben took his time to be here, so give it a thumbs up for Ben because he's great. Thanks for doing this, Ben.
And for Rob, who took just as much time to be here. So thank you for having me.
I'm always going to be here, Ben. This is special for you to be
That's
here.
fair.
Yeah, exactly. You're the specialty of the day. So thank you for doing that. And again, we've been also you and I reviewed Phineas and Ferb Star Wars. So
Yeah.
if you want to go back and find that one, that was a lot of fun to do too. So thanks, man. Appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.